Hey everybody, it's me, Peter. I'm joined by Hans, Sardo, and Anthopants. Today we're going to be talking about Justice League. So real quick, success or failure?
Okay, here's the thing. When we're talking about this movie, this is the, fifth? Is this the fifth DC movie now within this universe? Because we're excluding Christian Bale's Batman. Right. We're excluding Adam West's Batman.
I think it started with Man of Steel, right?
Okay, so Man of Steel forward, that's what this universe is.
And there's Batman versus Superman, there's Wonder Woman,
and Suicide Squad.
So yeah, this is the fifth one.
I would say Man of Steel is my favorite out of these films so far.
I would agree with that.
Then I might say...
Because Christopher Nolan wrote it.
I might say this one. I liked Wonder Woman. Maybe Wonder Woman might take the cake over this one. But this one's pretty close. So if I'm comparing it, like this is the fifth movie, like if you've seen Jaws 5... right? It's terrible. It's terrible. It's hard to make 5 good movies.
It is.
Rocky 5.
But then Rocky 6 was really good.
If this is its own thing, I would say I'm not that excited about it. But from Batman vs. Superman to this, it's a leap forward about 150 feet. I think this was way better than Batman vs. Superman.
Yeah, I'm excited at the prospect of the new characters. I like the new characters. I think Jason Momoa's a terrible actor, but he's so hot.
Khal Drogo.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't say English, and it was fine. Like that worked. He didn't really talk at all, and it was great. But I mean, he even fits too. I kind of like him as well, and he's probably my least favorite. But he fits.
Oh, so he's your least favorite?
Out of all of them, I think. Yeah.
Okay.
And just because he's really bad at acting, he's so hot though. But sorry, I can't stop talking about it. But yeah, I'm excited going forward. Maybe the solo movies that will come out of this. But yeah, this was the shortest I think DC movie they made. I think this one should have been a little bit longer in terms of length. And of course, in terms of length, I don't know what else I'll be talking about.
How long was Batman vs.
Batman vs. Superman was at least 2.5 hours, and the extended cut was almost 3 hours.
Yeah, the extended cut.
And that was too long, way too long. And this movie deserved to be a little bit longer, I think. But the only thing they need to learn how to write a story, for Christ's sake. I don't understand. They keep coming out with these movies, and it feels like they kind of start making the movie and they don't know where they're going, and then once they come up with a final product, they kind of second guess themselves. And I feel like in these movies it's very noticeable in Batman vs. Superman and Justice League that parts are cut, moved around, this director did this one. You can tell how, and it's very confusing. Not overly all bad movies, but I'm kind of excited after.
This is making me think of like when Justice League started. It's got Batman and he's chasing this dude, and then he's going to hold the dude over the building and summon this flying demon thing.
Right. Yeah.
And the editing on it was some of the worst I've ever seen. Like it was like the fight scene, like in Batman vs. Superman, the Batman fight where he's just like grappling hooking the like crate, and he's just
the whole warehouse fight was masterful.
Yeah.
I would agree.
Yeah.
The fight scenes in this movie, with the exception of one fight scene,
okay,
were really choppy, really kind of weird. The slow motion scenes were very weird because they have focused on kind of all the wrong parts. There's scenes where like the Flash starts doing something cool, like running on a wall, and then like we don't see the Flash during the entire slow motion sequence. We see a sword falling down like a hole. And then he comes in the last second. It's like, oh, I want to see the Flash doing cool things.
Right.
Is that kind of like you feel like the whole movie felt that way, or is like a jigsaw puzzle? They kind of.
That's how all of them. I mean, like Zack Snyder, I understand has had success in his career. I don't understand where.
300. He did 300.
Okay, that was good, but then the next one sucked. And
Watchmen was good.
Hold on. Are we talking about? I can name like 3 or 4 Zack Snyder movies that are good.
Okay, fine.
300.
Watchmen.
Dawn of the Dead.
Okay, Watchmen.
Watchmen was good.
Watchmen was okay. Watchmen again. Zack Snyder's like, I'm going to take these superhero action-packed movies and I'm going to make them 6 hours long, and I'm going to put you to sleep. Like that's what he does. Like they need to be, and then he needs to go away. I think if you look at the Batman trilogy, how I'm a little biased because I really like Christopher Nolan, but if you look at how he did it, it was completely. It's not perfect, but it's the way you do it. the villains were great in all three movies, and that's what really drives the movie. And I think that's what these are missing. They're doing these villains that nobody cares about. I mean, Michael Shannon, I think, was a very good Zod in Man of Steel.
Yeah, he did do it.
But that's about it in terms of the rest of the DC movies. And Suicide Squad's a whole movie full of villains, and they don't have anybody to fight. Talking about a movie that did not make sense. That was the prime example of them releasing a product and then being like, I don't think this is going to work out. Let's Will Smith.
Well,
and that's what it was.
I think this is what's going on. It's like Suicide Squad came out, Batman vs Superman, Suicide Squad, then Wonder Woman came out, and people saw Wonder Woman. They're like, "This is the greatest movie ever made,"
right. Because
you're comparing it to what else was in the DC universe,
right.
And what was in it was terrible. So I kind of feel the same way about this movie, about Justice League. It's head and shoulders above what Batman vs Superman and Suicide Squad was.
Yeah,
they're at least going in the right direction. But they should have done what Marvel did, which is give each character their own movie. And then we're watching this one, and it feels like I know these characters rather than I don't want to watch this movie and be learning about the Flashes and Aquaman and Cyborg's backstory.
They're trying to be too much like Marvel in some aspects too, because I feel like when all the DC movies kind of have a darker tone than the Marvel movies, and that's the kind of, I think, more what they should embrace rather than, I think the Flash in this movie, him being the comic relief is great. Like, that really works and everything, but that should be it. Like, I don't like the Batman cracks jokes all the time.
Yeah.
Like, his parents got murdered in front of him. Like, he's not a funny guy, you know? And I feel like they're trying to kind of capitalize on all the humor stuff, and it's fine if you have a character like the Flash, who was really good. I'm really excited, actually, about him in the universe to see what they're going to do with his character, because that's a cool character we haven't really seen in movies yet. But they need to stop trying to be Marvel and just do your own thing. Don't make everything funny. If you want to have certain characters that are funny, but I think especially with Batman, it's a very darker tone, and I think that's why the other movies were so successful, and that's kind of what appeals to people, and they totally ignore that, which I think is a huge mistake.
That's one of the things I liked about Wonder Woman, was Wonder Woman started out real colorful, real bright. She's on this awesome place that I would like to live. I would love living there, you know?
Right.
I'd just be mixing it up with everybody, you know? And then she goes into our world, which is like World War I, the world. And it's like this dark, gritty place. So there's that contrast there that I really liked. And then it made her feel like that fish out of water. She comes into our world, and it's totally different than what she expects. Right,
but that movie again though, the final villain showdowns, it's very underwhelming every time.
With Ares.
Yeah, and I don't. He's an old man the whole movie, and then all of a sudden he's wearing a suit of armor, and I don't care. At that point, it was a very good movie. But yeah, kind of, and I feel like all of them do that. At the end, it's like. And especially in Batman vs Superman when he's fighting, that was total garbage. They should have brought Zod back to life and done something. I don't know. They should have done something. But yeah, I feel like they're really lacking in the villain department.
I agree with that.
Do you think that it was a disservice not having individual movies for the characters Cyborg, Flash, Aquaman? I mean, there seemed to be kind of a lack of inter-character relations because they spent so much time on backstories for these guys. You know what I mean? I mean,
I think I don't know. I think I think a lot of things went wrong in this movie, but I don't think the chemistry among them was one of them. I would like to see more, about their characters, and they did a weird structure. They kind of, they're doing half the movie explaining things and then half the movie kind of moving along the plot. And I think that's where they kind of messed up. But, I mean, if they wrote a better story for the actual movie and did kind of glimpses into these characters and then they go into their origin movies where they get their own one, I think that's the way to go. And so it didn't really bother me too much because there was no story to take away from. I was way more interested in the backstories, and that's what I enjoyed more than whoever they were trying to fight.
Stephen,
whoever that is.
White Snake.
Yeah, well, it's hard not to compare this to Marvel, because Marvel really did it correctly, where they just set it up. Here's Captain America, here's Thor. They had a couple Hulk movies, and they just kind of were like, forget about that. We'll just throw the Hulk in. We'll just throw the Hulk in with the Avengers.
It's like Tokyo Drift.
So they just they set up these characters and did that. So I'm actually looking at this DC from the perspective of people who have been fumbling, and I'm like, how are you recovering the ball? And I do think this was a good recovery, considering the fact that they had 3 main characters that we knew nothing about going into this movie.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that, because you do know it did do the job of explaining who they were and what their backstories was. What I really had a huge problem with this movie about was how they tried to kind of fake market it, like, is Superman dead or not? Like, no, he's not dead. I don't want to, like, well, I hate marketing and previews where they try and deceive you, or they give you something away like that. Like, we know Superman's not dead. Like,
Superman's return. Do you think that happened maybe a little too quickly? Like, everything just kind of... It's like, well, what if we use this box and put him in this dirty water? And there he is, and where does Tuxedo go? We bury him in a suit, now he's shirtless.
More credit, I think, to I mean, I just... The story, the plot line of this movie was so bad, I feel like. And its saving grace was the characters that they were able to make. And but yeah, that whole part was kind of stupid, and his CG fake non-mustache.
Yeah.
I don't understand how someone watches that and is like, yeah, that's good, that's gonna be fine.
Yeah, I couldn't. When I was watching it, I couldn't figure out what was going on because they took Superman's face and they CG'd his face, and I was like, did they just get him to like stand there and they took a picture of him and then they like did like a South Park thing, with them, or why was his face CG? But it was because they were getting rid of a mustache.
Right, because he's making the new Mission Impossible movie.
Okay.
And it's in his contract that he has to have a mustache. So when they filmed the movie, fine, but then Zack Snyder had to leave for personal reasons or whatever, and they had to do all these reshoots, and he couldn't get rid of this mustache, and it's very noticeable. I don't know what the solution. I don't know. I mean, I've seen crazier things done with CG than removing a mustache, so I feel like they could have
recreating entire dead actors.
Right, exactly. But I don't know.
It was a short scene though.
I mean,
when he comes back, he doesn't have CG face anymore.
It's in a couple parts. Like I don't know. I might be. Yeah, it's not the whole time, but when it's there, it's very distracting.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with that.
Very noticeable.
But I will say, in spite of how quickly everything happened, that fight scene I loved. That was the only fight scene in the film that I actually enjoyed, that I felt like was a really good action scene.
You're talking about Superman coming back, and then everyone now versus Superman.
Right. Yeah, that was cool.
That was the best fight scene of the movie. And then
I think so.
There's this scene where the Flash has got, like, I don't know what he does. He goes, like, interdimensional when he's running or something weird. And he starts running really fast, and Superman just, like, following him.
Yeah, he's like watching him the whole time.
I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah. That was awesome.
But yeah, that
was good.
That was a good threat, but the problem is once they brought Superman back, it's like now there's no threat. Superman's so overpowered.
Yeah.
Right.
He was much stronger than Steppenwolf.
The reason why Zod is a good villain is because Zod's from Krypton, and nobody who's not from Krypton can handle Superman.
Right. And yeah, but again, I mean, they really need to come up. They need to take a step back, I think, and really plan ahead these movies and what they're going to do. Because I feel like they just start making a movie and they're like, I don't know, we'll just go with this, and then they're very underconfident about what the finished product is, and then they end up doing all these reshoots, and it ends up, ruining. I think Suicide Squad was purely ruined by what they didn't like the finished product, and then they decided we're going to do all these reshoots and totally screw up the whole movie.
Yeah, I don't know what happened with Suicide Squad, but it was bad. Yeah,
it was really bad, and I was really looking forward to that movie. I love David Ayer. I love all his movies except for Sabotage and now Suicide Squad. But
who's David Ayer?
He's he just did Bright, that Netflix movie that got terrible reviews, but I had fun.
Dude, Bright was awesome.
Yeah, I liked it. But he did like
let's talk about that.
Yeah, I know. He did. Like Fury, I think he wrote Training Day, actually.
He wrote Training Day?
And the original Fast and the Furious, or he was involved in it, or something like that. But yeah, and I feel like he, especially with that movie, they're taking a character like the Joker, and they're trying to bring him back to life, which I think is fine. I don't think Jared Leto was a bad Joker, but I feel like when you're really going to change a character how people are used to seeing, you can't have him in the movie for 10 minutes and expect people to be happy about that. I think like Heath Ledger's Joker was so good because obviously he's the main. I mean, obviously he did an incredible job, and I don't think anybody will be better than that. But the whole movie's about him. Like that's the whole point. This movie is just kind of an afterthought. And
well, Suicide Squad's got the same problem that Batman vs Superman does, which is you only know one character, Superman, from the Man of Steel movie. Then there's a new Batman who's a totally new guy, and you're trying to figure out who the heck is this guy. Then Wonder Woman jumps in, and then they got a new Lex Luthor, and so they're trying to give you all this backstory and all these things to these. And Suicide Squad did the same thing. They have a ton of new characters, and they're telling you all. It's just an information dump on you.
Right, it's too much.
They did. I feel like they had like people explaining who these people were, and also written dialogue of who these people were when they were introducing every character in Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
But I mean that movie was kind of a mess. This movie in comparison was great.
Yeah, I mean they are getting better. I feel like.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Are they going to make is Justice League 2? What's going to be next?
Justice League 2. I'm not sure if it's the next DC movie, but Steppenwolf did mention Darkseid's name.
Right, and then there's the end credit scene. Did you? Oh.
No, we didn't catch that.
We didn't catch
What's the
that.
end credits?
There's 2 end credit scenes.
Okay.
There's one that's kind of a fun one where the Flash is racing Superman.
Right.
You saw that one?
Yes.
Okay, there's another one, and it's Lex Luthor, and he's with Deathstroke.
Okay.
And
Okay.
and then they're like meeting up on a boat, and he's like, "We should start our own Justice League," and then that's the other scene.
Oh, that's
So they
interesting.
didn't, but they didn't show.
They didn't mention anything about Darkseid.
They showed
They showed Deathstroke.
Deathstroke.
Not,
Yeah,
not
not
Darkseid.
Deathstroke is the one with the sword, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And
Right,
Darkseid
and
is
Joe-
like
it's like-
Thanos,
it's the
like
Joe-
DC Thanos.
It's the Joe Manganiello and the guy.
Right.
Actually, so I think they're aren't they trying to make a standalone Batman next again?
Yes.
I think that's what. Yeah. And Ben Affleck's maybe in, maybe not.
Well, Ben was supposed to direct it,
And write it, but
Right.
then he gave that up because.
which to me is a really bad sign because Ben usually is. That's what I call him. Ben.
Yeah, that's.
He usually does a really good
I
job.
call him the Batfleck.
I mean, the town was awesome.
Yeah, it was.
The accountant was
It
awesome.
was awesome. Did he direct that too?
I think he wrote and directed both of
That was
those.
good. Yeah, and I think he's a pretty good Batman, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I like
I
him.
like
him.
I wasn't crazy. I liked him as Batman in Batman vs Superman. In this one, I wasn't as crazy.
Yeah, I kind of agree. He was kind of the shining, I think, moment from Batman versus Superman. I think that's because people didn't really expect much. But
just a sense of humor that you kind of had.
Yeah, I don't like that. I mean, it's
Yeah.
not. It's a weird.
Does it kind of feel like they are pushing forward, probably with one person at the helm, and then the production company is saying, well, the audience is going to want to see more of this and more of that, and like that's where all the reshoots are coming in.
Yeah, I think there's definitely too many cooks in the kitchen. I think
Right.
with DC. I think the beauty of Marvel and what they do is every movie kind of feels different. With the DC movies, every movie has the same feel, and then Marvel has their core movies that kind of all have the same feel, but then they have like even the Thor Ragnarok and even Ant-Man. They all have a very different feel. They almost don't feel like Marvel movies, but they are. And I think that's the beauty of it. And DC's kind of afraid. I don't think they don't know what they want to do, I think is their problem. And they don't have a direction, and they don't have a good director, I feel like, to just trust with to go.
You could
to
argue
go do it.
that the Marvel movies are almost different genres.
Right.
Whereas
I would
the
agree.
DC movies do all kind of feel like the same genre. Is that going to be an issue for a Flash standalone movie or an Aquaman standalone movie? Should those feel different?
Yeah, and I actually think they will, because if you look at the way Man of Steel feels, which is a standalone Superman movie, and the way Wonder Woman feels, they're at least a little bit different. They're not so similar, right? No? Okay. Well, I don't think they're all that similar. I think they feel a little bit different. I think once you put a character in there that isn't goody two-shoes, like Cyborg, you're going to have a very different feeling movie.
Right.
Or Batman, you might have a very dark, different feeling movie.
Right. But I think so with the Flash, I think they should handle it in the kind of the way that they did with the new Spider-Man, where this guy essentially is a teenager, so you have to make the movie based upon that. Like Spider-Man was a very lighter tone movie, and I think a Flash movie should not have the traditional like DC darker tone because it doesn't really fit his character. He's a very, he's the comic relief basically.
He's a fast talker.
Right, and he's just a kid.
What is Aquaman's power?
That's a good question. He controls water and dolphins or something. I think.
Well, they kept joking about it because Batman kept asking him, "Do you talk to fish?"
Yeah.
And he's like, and he wouldn't answer.
Right. He's like, the fish talk to themselves. I just feel it out and
Ride my barley on them.
I'm more of a eavesdropper of fish conversation.
I don't know. I never thought they could make Aquaman look like that ever in my entire life. And I mean, he's a really bad actor, like I've continuously been saying, but he's so hot.
Were you hoping for the orange?
No, I wasn't, because that
and
looks
green underwear.
That looks terrible, and I like the look of his character. But I don't know if it's going to be enough for its own movie or not.
I don't know if he can carry a movie.
Right.
I liked him in Game of Thrones, but he didn't really talk. Other than in Dothraki or whatever it's called. So, yeah, I don't know. I saw him in Conan, and it wasn't that good. He looks the part, but the movie wasn't that good.
He's just a really bad actor.
I don't think he can carry a film.
Really, really bad. But he's so hot.
As far as his power being ambiguous, I don't think he's the only one. Because what is Cyborg's power?
Right.
He's got street lamp control.
There's that scene where he's in the street with Wonder Woman or something, and the lights go out.
Yeah.
But his power seems to change day to day.
But there's a little more. He's just a big computer. I feel like
he's supposed to be part of the Mother Box, which is a self-regenerating, life-giving thing. And that's what he is,
so
but in a cybernetic way?
Everything.
So he's a computer.
He's like a robo Jesus Christ.
Yes. So he's a computer
being real.
That is human. He's a human computer like RoboCop.
But I think because he can interface with everything's connected in the digital world, and he can control all of that.
He's like Wi-Fi personified.
I don't know. You think
Where does he get the guns from though? Because didn't he start when
but
someone
it's
say
weird,
something?
Yeah, because he got all these new they just showed up and they didn't really. It's like we didn't see a movie about
anti-bullying software, like cybersecurity.
Yeah, there's just that constant pop-up of you got to be 18 or older to enter this site.
Just paperclip guy.
We need administrator access to this. For me, it was. I kind of want to see his own movie.
Yeah,
he actually might be my number one pick to see his own, other than Batman, because just everyone likes Batman.
Right.
I really liked Cyborg and what they can do with him. And if they had that beforehand, they wouldn't have to. We wouldn't go through this whole "I'm confused."
I mean, I think it can necessarily work. I don't think. I think necessarily now when we look back, I think it's kind of confusing, but during the movie, I didn't really question that too much. I really liked his character, so I kind of just accept that. But I think, I think it just kind of depends on where they go from now when they do an origin movie. That's hopefully all that's. But it's weird now because all of them, this is kind of their origin movie. So what are they going to do?
Yeah.
Especially him, because he's essentially created entirely in this movie. So it's we'll see what they do.
What I worry about with characters like that, or with characters with magical powers, or whatever it is there are no preset parameters for their limits, and that just kind of leaves this ambiguous kind of they can do anything, and it gives you kind of a way out where it looks like they're in danger, and then there's this power that you didn't even know that they had, and they didn't even know that they had. That's what worries me about that kind of ambiguity.
I see that as a throwback to the Adam West Batman, when like a shark grabs his leg and he's like, "Don't worry, Robin, I coated us with shark repellent." You
right.
know,
I hope that's not
I'm sure
what
that's
the
what they're
Cyborg
going
movie is
for.
about.
and then the shark explodes. But that's kind of the way I saw it. But I don't think that's what they're going for. And if they had the movies beforehand, then we wouldn't have this problem.
Right, but yeah, I mean, it just kind of it can work. I think it just depends on where they go now. I'm interested to see. I mean, now when they kind of redo characters, they're not really doing the traditional origin stories now, which I think is good. So hopefully they don't try and like redo, and try and go back and see when he was created. Hopefully they just start at another point where he was after the movie.
Here's a question. Now that they have brought Superman back, and they've established that you can bring someone back using the Mother Box, does that take the threat of dying away? Are we now no longer worried about people dying in the DC universe?
When Superman dies in Batman vs Superman, he's not dead. I mean, I feel like that was really. I mean, I don't know what they were trying to go for.
But what I'm saying is that now, if they kill Wonder Woman, are we going to be like, she'll come back? And if they kill the Flash, because
it's true.
Because they set the precedent that you can bring someone back from the dead pretty easily.
I mean, but that's just movies, I think, in general.
That's true.
For me, it kind of I like the idea of someone dies and they stay dead. I like that idea. I don't like zombie Superman. Not a fan.
Yeah.
If you're gonna bring Superman back, you do it in a much later film when he's absolutely needed. I don't think he was needed in this one.
Right.
I think they were just like, if we can get a royal flush, we may as well get a royal flush.
Yeah, I think they just tried to. I don't think they knew what they were doing. I think they had no overall plan in what they were going to do with this movie. They're like, okay, we're going to act like Superman's dead. He's totally not. Don't even worry about it. We're going to play the trailers like, oh, Superman's dead. And he's not. And I don't know. I just, that whole, I think that whole part of the movie is very, very
just so everyone knows, Superman is not dead.
Yeah.
He was dead for like 4 days.
I think it would have been cool if they played up the Pet Sematary Superman for longer, like if they're like fighting Steppenwolf.
They could have made a whole movie about fighting evil Superman
and called it Justice League versus Superman.
Right.
Or Batman versus Superman 1.
Well,
why wasn't that the whole story of the first movie?
Here's what would have been cool. I'm not going to say here's what they should have done because that's just wishful thinking. Here's what would have been cool though. Superman comes back, okay? Justice League is going up against him and they're losing. Steppenwolf now is going up against Superman and he's losing. Justice League and Steppenwolf team up together to fight Superman and they get their butts kicked.
I mean, and that's a better movie than what I think was created. But yeah, I mean, I think that's you lose a whole opportunity to fight a really cool villain that no one would have expected, and they're like, we'll just have him come back.
For me, it was like this. They were doing pretty decent against Steppenwolf. Where I'm like, this guy's tough, but I feel like our heroes, if they combine their strengths, can pull it off. Once Superman came in, I'm like, game over. Yeah. And Superman just like he made the guy look like a child.
Yeah, he cleans house.
And that's a problem. The threat went completely out the window. I don't think they should have brought Superman back.
Going back to what I've been saying this whole time. I feel like the Christopher Nolan movies are the absolute greatest, especially with Superman, because...
So wait a minute.
No, look
hold on. You'd say that the Christian Bale Batman is better than the Adam West Batman?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
100%. But I feel like especially what a lot of people, I mean, Man of Steel got very mixed reviews. I feel like I really liked Man of Steel. One, because he took, and written by Christopher Nolan, so he took...
It was written by Christopher Nolan?
It was written, it wasn't directed by him. But
if it was directed by him, I think it would have been...
It would have been, it would have won an Oscar. But, so what I really liked about that movie was they took Superman's character, a flying human, or not a human, but a flying person with ridiculous powers, and they took it and they based it in the real world. So they're like, why can he fly? Well, on his home planet... the sun, whatever, and they all explain that, and it gives it a reason, and it makes him more human than just this flying dude who shoots lasers from his eyes and can annihilate people. And those movies, I think, are so successful because they're based in a world like the whole Man of Steel is how are people going to deal with this supernatural being, and how would people react in the real world? How would the government react? What are they going to do? And Marvel's kind of getting into that now, especially like with Civil War and all that, and that aspect of it. And I think that's a really cool aspect of it because it makes characters with superpowers seem like this is real life, like that could happen. But now with these other like with Justice League, I feel like that's totally out of the window. Nothing's really relatable. They try and do it in Batman vs Superman with the guy who's paralyzed and in the wheelchair and stuff, and they kind of try and do that, but then they kind of totally miss the point in this movie, and I think that's why Superman seems so overpowering, because they don't make it. It's not a relatable character. Like, of course he's going to kill everybody. He's Superman, not like, oh, but he can fly because he's really just jumping really high and stuff like that.
Man of Steel had preset parameters for like the limits to his power, which is what I was talking about with like introducing these new characters. Like even Wonder Woman, I was a little bit confused because Superman and the Flash are faster than speeding bullets, but Wonder Woman literally stops machine gun fire with her bracelet. Right. And it's like, oh, is she faster than a speeding bullet too? Like, I'm not sure.
What is she? Can she not take a bullet?
It's like her.
She keeps using the brace. She takes the bracelet.
Yeah, the bracers can. I don't know if she can. But I'm not sure.
I don't know.
There were no parameters really.
She's got like Jessica Jones kind of powers where she's really strong.
Yeah, where they just don't. I think it's. But I'm telling you, Christopher Nolan, genius. They should pay him all the money in the world, and they should restart the DC universe again, because his movies had a story. These don't have a story. They don't relate to me. I don't care about these characters. I don't care about. Okay, the Scarecrow, Batman Begins, right? No one knew who that was.
Yeah. Okay.
And you could a decent actor, and he plays his character, and he played it very well. He's probably the least interesting of the three villains in those movies, but that's the point. They're all good, and in DC now, all of them are bad. And if they want to make a good movie, they need a story and a villain. I feel like, I know, it's very basic, but like I don't think Zack Snyder understands this. He's like, we're going to put a green screen, and then we're just going to throw stuff at it.
Yeah, they need a villain with depth.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with this. It's so hard not to compare this to the Avengers. But in the Avengers, you go back and there's Loki, someone that we can relate to, that we understand, and we know what he's doing.
Who's introduced in a movie before.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
And another thing with this one is why didn't they show Darkseid? Like, they showed Thanos at the end of the Avengers movie.
Right.
Kind of like, this is the actual threat. This was a battle in the war. Why didn't they show Darkseid? I have a theory, but I want to hear
their theory, because they have no idea what they're going to do with it yet. That's way too far down the line what they're going to do.
I think they don't want to commit to a look.
Exactly.
Like they're like, we don't want to make them look like this, and then like 10 films later actually have them look like that.
Exactly. I totally agree.
Just kind of superimpose Thanos' chin to Darkseid's forehead.
Yeah.
And there you go. Good enough.
They haven't like audience tested the look.
Well, because even Marvel, I mean, even the Thanos now compared to the first movie is totally different. I mean, they kind of did that too, but I feel like people are way more forgiving with Marvel, especially now, because they've had success rather than DC, which hasn't, and that's also their problem. I feel like the critics for DC are way, way worse than any other Marvel movie. Like, you read the reviews for, like, Batman vs Superman, like, this is a piece of garbage. Like, I wouldn't take anyone to see it. And like, there are Marvel movies that aren't too bad, but critics like rave over. So I feel like it's also kind of a bias too, because they haven't had the success that Marvel has.
Well, yeah, but I think Marvel's also kind of building this snowball, and every time you watch a Marvel film, you feel like you're part of this entire universe
until
building and building
until
and building
Infinity War, and then that's going to be the one.
What happens if Infinity War is terrible?
It's going to be terrible.
Do you think it's going to be bad?
I do, yeah, I think so.
Wow, interesting.
That's a different universe. But,
I can't wait for that.
There's like 44 main characters. How can it be good?
Because we already know the characters.
I know, but
they don't need to do any backstory.
Too many cooks in the kitchen, okay?
It's just going to be a massive battle. It's going to be like the Braveheart battle scene.
I mean, I hope it's good.
The whole movie.
But I don't know. I'm having. I think it's
it's gonna be like Black Panther coming in, then you're gonna have like Winter Soldier, then William Wallace, and it's like, what? Where did this come from?
Here's something that we haven't covered. Here's something that we haven't covered. They teased Green Lantern in this movie.
Yeah, they showed a lantern. Steppenwolf was like going to battle. They showed a lantern.
Right. Now, are we excited that they're going to bring Green Lantern into the movie, or did the Ryan Reynolds movie completely destroy?
No, I mean, I feel like I feel like those characters are forgiven. I feel like that was just a garbage movie.
Okay. Yeah, people forgave Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah, and I mean he's had a lot of success, obviously, in the Marvel universe. But I mean, I think that's the Green Lantern. I think is a really cool character that they could get into. There's a lot of source material, especially for that. But yeah, I mean, they just have to make a good movie.
Well, they don't even have to bring back Ryan Reynolds if they don't want to.
No, I think it's they're talking about like Army Hammer. I think is might be the Green Lantern.
Army Hammer?
Yes.
Is that a name of someone, or is that like
that
a brand
real
name? Is that a brand name?
No. Yes.
He's in one
and
of the.
Yes.
Yeah. If you're gonna nail something to the wall, you use an Army Hammer.
He was in like the Social Network. He was the twins.
Him.
He's the guy in the Lone Ranger.
I don't know how I feel about this guy.
Me neither. I'm kind of torn, but yeah. I mean,
I think he's okay.
Honestly, like I feel like maybe I think the Green Lantern now could be a success because the standards for it are going to be so incredibly low.
Yeah.
Based upon the first movie that was so bad. And as long as they put out a decent movie, I think it would be successful because, critics are going to take it easy because they're not going to expect anything from that at all.
Here's an interesting thought. I don't know too much about DC. I actually know more about Marvel. But in DC, there's I guess it was called the Crisis Event. And it's like how, there's a Marvel multiverse, and there's also a DC multiverse.
Right.
And the Crisis Event was all the different versions of these characters meeting with each other.
Okay.
A Crisis Event in the movies would mean a Christian Bale Batman, a Ben Affleck Batman, a Val Kilmer Batman in the same movie.
A Val Kilmer?
Yes, with the
George
Keaton.
Clooney.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Michael Keaton.
Would that be jumping the shark, or would that be kind of cool? Like, would you like to see something like that?
At this point, I don't know if I would say that I do want to see something like that, because I think it is jumping the shark at this point. Okay. Like that's just jumping ahead about 50 movies, right? Just throwing Christian Bale, Ben Affleck, George Clooney in the same movie together as Batman would be way, way too much.
I mean, I think it's a cool idea, but I mean, with how I don't think it would ever happen with contracts and whatnot.
What about this? What if we simplify it? Because the DC universe has the television universe and the film universe.
Right.
What if they just limited it to that, where there's a Crisis Event that has their TV universe mixed in with the film?
I mean,
universe?
I would watch it.
Yeah, kind of fun, right?
Yeah, I think that would be cool.
So wait, what is the DC TV? That's Arrow or Gotham?
Yeah, and then I think Supergirl.
Supergirl, okay.
And do they have Superman in Supergirl, or is Smallville Superman supposed to be?
there's a
Dean Cain.
There's a Superman who I think is in Supergirl.
But it's a different dude?
Yeah, but then there's also there's a Flash show.
Yeah, there's a Flash.
There is a Flash show.
He's a different actor.
And it's a different guy than okay. And there was a Flash show from like the 90s as well.
Yeah, I think so.
Let's just get all of them in there.
Yeah, let's just throw it on there. Get Steve Reeves,
I think that's
Reeves.
Michael Keaton.
That's kind of the cool thing now, I think, with TV is they can kind of expand the universe a little bit more with a lot of, well-known. But I mean, I just think sometimes there's just too much. There's too much. And I feel like that's kind of like what Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. kind of fell victim of. Like, it's just, there's too much to... Because the comic book universe is huge, and when you make a movie, it's 2 hours, whatever, and you figure out where you're going to go, you tell a very small story within that time. With a television show, you have free reign to do everything, and sometimes I just think there's nowhere to go. Like they're too much material, not enough time, and they end up just really, really bad.
Yeah, and I think there's a certain degree of burnout too.
Right.
Where if you've seen every single one of the Marvel movies, which at this point is, if my calculations are correct, 4,562
it's
movies.
Close. It's very close.
Over 1 million man-hours
Right, yeah.
of watch time. If you actually go through all that, you're going to be pretty burnt out.
Right.
Before you even get to Infinity Wars.
Right. And I think that's what the Marvel movies do a good job of not doing. Like, I think everyone's super excited, especially for Black Panther, because it's something totally different and that you're not going to see. But it's a Marvel movie, so I think they do a super good job of having their movies separate but together at the same time, if that makes any sense. But in DC, I don't think does a good job.
They haven't really done it yet. That's
right.
Other than Wonder Woman and then the start of Superman.
Right.
Man of Steel.
Yeah, that's true. For me, I think maybe we can wrap it up with this, but for me, my favorite movies were Man of Steel and Wonder Woman. But it's because the Marvel movies were episodic. Like they all feel
right.
Like they're in the same universe, but they have their own conflict that is resolved by the end of the film.
Right.
And the other DC movies, Batman vs Superman and this one, Justice League, kind of feel more like they're setting something up. Is that something that maybe, pointing that out, is that something that maybe makes you look forward to more episodic type of like Flash films, or is there anything that you're hoping to see?
I mean, I'm excited to see what comes. I am. I feel like they are getting better, and I like that it's a new universe that's different from Marvel, because there are a lot of cool DC characters that people love and that people like to see movies of. So I'm excited at that aspect. I personally think they should completely. I don't know how they would do it at this point, but I think they need to completely start over, and they need to. Come up with they need to come up with a plan. They need to we'll make these three movies. This is going to happen in these three movies, and then we'll go from there. But if they keep kind of just shoving things along and trying to do it as they go, I'm not excited at all.
Yeah, I like the idea of, because I feel like Marvel had a distant idea. In the distance, we'll do Infinity Wars.
Right.
But maybe we won't. And right now, we're just going to make a good Captain America film. Right. As good as this boring character can be. And when DC actually does standalone films, like Wonder Woman, they turn out pretty dang good. So if they go in that direction, make more standalone films, make a Flash film, make a Cyborg film, don't make an Aquaman film. But
which
it's going to be good.
And according to the internet, I think that's the next movie that's going to come out.
Aquaman?
Which, I didn't really research that much, but that is slated right now to come out in December.
Jason Momoa?
Is
it Samoa or Momoa?
Momoa.
I think I've been calling him Samoa this entire time. My whole life I've been calling him Samoa.
That's supposed to come out Christmas of this year, and I think that's a terrible choice for the next movie. I think that's definitely like 2 movies down. I think he's very appealing as an actor, mainly because he's so hot. But he's a garbage. Yeah, I don't know how he's gonna. I don't know how he's gonna do it. I would have done the Cyborg movie next.
I feel the same way about Henry Cavill.
Yeah, I'm not a huge Superman.
I don't think he's a very good actor. I think he's better when he's British than when he's American.
Right.
Because he's actually English or something.
Right.
But he's a good-looking guy.
Yeah.
And I think that's what DC is going for. Good-looking people.
Yeah, and that's not.
And Gal Gadot, I think, is actually.
Yeah, but
she might be the best actress out of the whole. Other than
she
maybe
definitely
Ben
is.
Affleck does a pretty good job.
She definitely is.
I can't be saying her name right? Gal Gadot.
I think it's Gal Gadot.
I think that's.
There's no way that's correct.
Yes, it's Gal
I've never
Gadot.
gotten her name right the first time ever.
But her fit. I mean, she's supposed to be the most beautiful woman in the world, and she is.
Mission accomplished.
Yes.
All right, real quick, out of 10.
Oh, out of 10?
Yeah. How would you rate the movie?
Oh, come on. I mean, I
You got
give
a number?
it for me. I guess if I'm comparing it on its own, it's a 6. If I'm comparing it to Batman versus Superman, it's a Spinal Tap 11.
The movie story, I give like a 2. The characters, I give like an 8. I feel like the characters were really good. So like average, like a 6, 7 in that. It gets so high because of the excitement. I think where it could go, but the story 2, 1, a 1.
All right. Well, thanks for joining me, Hans Sardo, Anthopants. Thanks for coming onto my channel. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.